about, we can go right into it. Is Diane Mcqueen here
Yes, she is.
and ready to go?
Present.
Okay,
Ready
she's
to
present,
go.
and Maria Lyman is going to introduce her. One.
Maria's on mute. There
Oh,
she
no,
goes.
Maria, well, Maria didn't read the agenda.
Oh, oh.
Anyway, Diane Mcqueen is known to us for she's like the princess. No, I shouldn't say that. I should say like I can't say Dowager Queen either, Diane. She's like
They call me
queen.
Diane the Queen.
I know, the queen of, what used to be called dark money. And now things are changing a little bit. So Diane's going to bring us up to date on the effort, and look forward to hearing what's going to happen. So Diane.
Okay. All right. I am going to share my screen. How is everybody? Miss everybody. And I'd like to share my entire screen, but
Diane, can you share some light on your face? We can't see you.
that's kind of hard because
Okay.
I've got the sun behind me. But and I tried turning my light off, but that didn't do any good. Hold on here, slideshow. Come on, from the beginning. So,
Yeah.
on Tuesday, Terry Goddard filed a new initiative. Actually, it was a refiling. We're going to try it again. You know, the first two times in 2018, we got nailed by Koch Enterprises in the state Supreme Court for the paid circulator company that we had that really did a lousy job. So we didn't make the ballot. Last year, as you all know, just with everything else, we got, we paused because of the we paused. And that reason is, most of our volunteers are in the risk category, and especially in the high risk category. So when the governor did a shutdown, his order, we said, we're gonna do it because most of our volunteers weren't comfortable getting out. Heck, I wasn't comfortable getting out. I don't think any of you were comfortable getting out. And we did ask the governor to allow us to carry over the signatures. We knew it was a long shot. Not only did he not do that, I don't think he ever responded to Terry on that. So, but we're back, new brand. Instead of dirty money, outlaw dirty money, we are now stop dark money. And I am having such a hard time saying that fast because I'm so used to outlaw dirty money. And it's like stop, and I stop. And then I say dark money. And, but we still have the same goal. And that's for full disclosure of anonymous donations that are trying to influence our vote. Few changes. I don't have a ton of slides, but a few changes. New name, of course. The past two, and our actual name of the initiative, if you read the initiative, is actually Voters' Right to Know, not to be confused with National Voters' Right to Know. Our initiative is just for Arizona and it's Voters' Right to Know. But our nickname, and we're just Stop Dark Money. The past two times, we went for a constitutional amendment. This time, because we're still in a pandemic, and for other reasons, we're going for a legislative initiative. We're going for a law this time. Constitutional amendments are stronger, but with our Voter Protection Act, Arizona's Voter Protection Act, and with the Terry and his lawyers in the Campaign Legal Center in DC, who helped write all our initiatives, they feel very strongly that we can't really be messed with on that because it's a statute. And unlike Invest in Ed, because there's a surcharge, there's money involved, you know, that is, as Nikki knows, is so much more contentious. We're not, you know, we don't have any part of that in ours. Big reason, about 125,000 less signatures to do a legislative initiative as opposed to a constitutional amendment. And given that we are still in a pandemic, it's like, let's do this. And so the big difference is this time organizations spending more than 50,000, and I may say people, and people and organizations are the same thing. The initiative uses the word person, and they mean organizations. Spending more than 50,000 in state races or 25,000 in local races, and state races would include initiatives. On campaign media must report the original source of their funding, and that includes and when they meet that threshold, that 50,000 or 25,000, they must disclose all original contributors who gave more than 5,000 during an election cycle. An election cycle is based on the even year election cycles from the day after an election to the day of the next election. So a lot of our, you know, Prescott, a lot of our cities, Tucson towns, they do off cycle, they do odd year elections. They'll still be covered under this. But we have to define, you know, what the starting point is. Difference last year is it was 25,000 for state, 10,000 for local. We upped that, calmed a lot of people down. But, you know, it's still going to have its impact. But we've tightened up we've tightened up the reporting restrictions. Excuse me. So now reports, once an organization person reaches that 50,000 or 25,000, they have 5 days to submit their report to the Clean Elections Commission. Excuse me. After that, subsequent reports must be filed when they keep spending and spending, then they only have 3 days to report. So it really tightened up that reporting period and takes care of some laws in place, like Phoenix laws. I think it's Phoenix or Tempe, who already have disclosures. We won't be touching them, and cities and counties can still institute stricter laws than what we have. But the current laws that are down in the valley, those only require 21 days of reporting. So 21 days before an election, that's when a lot of the money is spent. So we've tightened up our reporting till maybe 3 days before the election. We won't know who spent the 3 days before the election, but we'll know before that. And till after. Again, the Clean Elections Commission is going to enforce this act. They are to stay totally independent no matter what the governor says. So we still have that. And we're still in a pandemic. We're starting slow. We're actually going to be starting with some paid circulators. They should be hitting the streets next week down in Maricopa County. Of course, you might see them up here and in Flagstaff as things get hot. And taking a cue, Nikki from Invest in Ed, we're starting out slow this summer. There's still no events. There's still no in-person meetings. We're not telling people to get out on the streets or trailheads unless they want to. We have some die-hard people like Linda Childs, who's I see is on this call, Julie, who's off camping right now. We're not telling people not to do it. We're not encouraging people not to do it. So we're going to be mailing out petitions as requested. And then we can work to either get them back and get them notarized, or they can mail them in. We'll be very flexible, but we expect it to be very slow over the summer. And especially because it's going to get too hot in Maricopa County, where 60% of the registered voters, active registered voters, are in southern Arizona, like Pima County. Love the Invest in Ed permanent sites. So I'm hoping to do the same things. I'm looking for, my goal is that we'll have sites all around the state in the major areas, Flagstaff, Prescott, multiple ones in Maricopa County, Pima County, and that we do Saturdays, every Saturday from 10 to 4 p.m., staffed with volunteers, where people can come sign the petition, check in, check out. So if anybody knows, of course, we want to look for a place that has parking lot space. Somebody has a business where they're closed on Saturdays. If anybody has, any names I could talk to, point me in directions. I've been looking at certain stuff, but it's kind of hard. And where we won't, if they're open on Saturdays, where we won't interfere with their business. So, but given that we have time right now, but that's the goal, is have these sites. And then, we've already got several others down in the valley, about 4 down in the valley lined up. And so that's kind of our slow. There's a nice picture of Terry at the Secretary of State's office yesterday, getting his petition. One of the things I think you'll find out, and I have a new email. My old email, Diane@outlawdirtymoney.com, works. This is an email alias, or Diane@stopdarkmoney.com. This is our new website. We're going to have a separate website for our volunteers, and I'm working on getting that up and running. This is, let me get out of here, a really nice graphic we worked on, a gal from Tucson and I, that, a lot of people are confused. When is disclosure, who has to disclose, who doesn't have to disclose? So we're looking at the original source of individuals donating $5,000 or more to, and on this side, this is the side of people who have to disclose currently. So if you give $50 or more contribute it to a campaign, a candidate committee, a PAC, or a political party, your information is already being disclosed. Your name, your address, your occupation is already in the quarterly financial reports on the Secretary's website. But this is the side we're targeting. These are these IRS designations. Now, not all of these 501c4s are bad, but this is where the dark money hides, is in these IRS designations. And not all unions are bad, not all trade associations bad. It's the IRS designation that's being used to funnel the dark money. So these are the people we're wanting for disclosure, because not only can these groups launch their own media campaigns, Americans for Peanut Butter, Americans for Prosperity, they can also take their unlimited funds and donate it to political parties and donate it to PACs. And that's what we actually call gray money. So this is a great, to me, help clear up, and hopefully will help people understand a little more. Let's see. That, you guys are also familiar with this. We will be sending out a volunteer email. So if you submitted somebody should put themselves on mute. If you checked out or checked in a petition, the past 2 campaigns, you're on my volunteer list, and we'll be sending out a big blast email very soon to all our volunteers. And if you want to just get a petition for your friends, your families, your neighbors, every 5 signature counts. And I'll work with you guys as much as I need to. And I think that's it.
You're right on time.
Good. I try to be. I've been trained well.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a question. Who keeps track of the amount that each individual contributes For example, when I give to one candidate at the beginning of his or her run for office, and then later on throughout the campaign, it adds up to $5,000, will the system catch that?
The system will not, because it's up to these entities to self-report. That's going to be the law. The law is you spend $50,000 on a state media campaign, $25,000 for local, and during that time, if you have anybody, individuals or organizations who donated $5,000 or more, you have to self-report. And if you don't, there's several different types of penalties, which could be up to equal 3 times of what was spent.
Okay,
So, go ahead.
to continue that, if I give $4,000 to Jane, and then another $4,000 to Harry, and another $4,900 to Peter, they're all
Hey, how about $4,000 to Judy Stahl, because I know she could use it. She's on the call.
okay, to Judy. Then those 4 individuals would have to report on they're responsible for the reporting, right?
Right. So as
Okay.
Judy knows from campaigns, that's if a candidate committee. So for Judy's candidacy, she's, formed a political campaign committee. And if you give $50 or more, those are the ones that have to report. PACs, political parties, and candidate committees already have to report $50 or more.
Right.
But it's the ones that were on the right side of the screen, the 501c4s, 501c5s, 501c6, they're the ones that don't have any reporting requirements right now. And so if you gave to Americans for Peanut Butter, you get that $4,000 to Americans for Peanut Butter, and then during the election cycle, you give another $5,000, and so they keep getting donations. Once they spend $50,000 or $25,000 respectively, they are supposed to track report on everybody who gave $5,000 or more. But for that left side of the screen, they're already doing that.
Are you ready for another question?
Yes.
Okay. What is the due date for signatures?
Our submittal date is July 8th, 2022.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when Terry has to submit them to the Secretary of State's office. And so we've got some time, the first campaign in 5 months, volunteers gathered 150,000 signatures. Look at what SOS did. We can do it. And last year we would have, but by the time we shut down, we had a little over 300,000 signatures and still had 3 months. We would have gotten, if it had been for the pandemic, and I really appreciate what Invest in Ed did. But their budget was exponentially larger than ours. And, we're still a grassroots. And our volunteer base is a lot different. And so we couldn't continue on that way. We have, like I say, some funding. We're hoping to get maybe half of our, 100,000, 150 from paid circulators and get about 125,000 out of our volunteers. It's 2 different circumstances. And I signed Invest in Ed, I carried the petition, and I notarized and I voted for it. But kind of different circumstances as far as, budget goes. But we have to win. So we can keep pushing people to get the shots so we can all get out again and get signatures.
Okay, here's another question. Is the Dark Money campaign discussing the Under the Dome strategy referenced in Jane Mayer's article?
I have to tell you, I don't remember that off the top of my head. Who asked that question?
Yeah, I did. It was a leaked telephone conference call wherein the Republican lobbying group found out that voter suppression was not popular, that enlarging voter opportunities was popular with conservatives, liberals, everybody. Therefore, they said, don't go out there in public. We'll just do it under the dome, which is we'll go straight to the congressman and do our lobbying there. And it seems to me like that is a dark money sort of endeavor.
Yeah, that you're saying the Republicans are doing that it's
Yeah.
a dark money
Yeah,
endeavor?
they found
Well,
out that voter suppression was not popular, that voter augmentation was with everybody. So
well, you know, and I think a lot of that, look at Ron DeSantis. How much money is he pulling in because he's looking to run for maybe president, right? And he's getting big money, big donations based on his voter suppression tactics. Yeah, so it is yes, it's all tied. I mean, all of politics is tied to dark money, unfortunately, these days. You know, and just like, you know, we HR1 will cover, hopefully, if it's signed and passed, will only cover federal, but we still need this state initiative because states can still make their own laws. And so having, you know, a lot of people have asked me, well, if we have HR1, do we need this? Yes, we still need this, you know, especially if we have a Republican-led majority in our state and House and governor. When can we start? I'm ready, Prescott Indivisible says. Like I say, is that D?
No, I didn't write that one. Who was that? Is it Maria Elena?
It's Nikki.
Maybe.
Is Nikki?
And it's Nikki.
I'm
Nikki,
ready.
You are
Go.
You are on my volunteer list, Nikki. I know that because we actually have. I worked with a developer colleague of mine. I spent 30 years in the IT world, and we've created this. You would drool over it, Nikki. This
Yay.
wonderful petition and volunteer real database. No more Google Sheets. And so I've been working on that for like 6 months, and I know you're on my list. And if any of you are not sure, I know Linda Charles is. I owe Linda Charles a call, and because she's one of our biggest volunteers and supporters in the Valley. That gal is a machine, and if you're not, you actually have on our stopdarkmoney.com website, there's a volunteer button, and you fill in your information. It goes right into the database, and we will make sure. So you can actually email me now, and I will put you on the list to receive. You just tell me how many petitions you want, 1, 20, whatever. But right now you can email me. We don't have the petitions yet. We'll actually have them next week. The first set is going to the paid circulators. And then the second set is going for the volunteers, because we want those paid circulators out on the street since it's already 100 degrees down there. And if no more questions, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, magnificent. Oh. Okay, so no more questions, and we're still 5 minutes off. So anyway, next up is Eric Moore, and Maria Lyman, our politician whisperer, will introduce him as well.
Thank you, Doug. This time I'm ready. This is Eric Moore's first PI meeting. And Eric, thank you so much for joining us and especially contributing to our discussion prior to our formal meeting.
Sure.
Eric's familiar to many of us. He's been writing Birding, a weekly column in the Daily Courier for the past 17 years. Writing anything weekly for 17 years, Eric, is just amazing. I did it for almost 4 and it killed me. So read over the years, he's been read by thousands of people, and he also owns Jay's Bird Barn. Respect of the environment, wildlife, and to be a good steward of our earth is Eric's focus. He has decided to bring his background and passion for work to the people of Prescott, and in effect, Yavapai County, because we know we're all interconnected. We face the challenges of water conservation, residential growth, and some would argue inadequate planning for infrastructure. So we look forward to hearing his views on why he is running for Prescott City Council. And again, Eric, thank you so much for coming. So I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Maria. It's a little awkward for me. I have to admit, I do not consider myself politically motivated. I've never run for a political office before. I'm 61 years old. I've been a business owner for almost 18 years now. And I've been watching, like you know, what's been happening in Prescott, particularly with growth and with water, and with the lack of term limits at our city level. And that is a concern to me. Just a little background. I've had a love of birds since I was a child. I started bird watching when I was 4 or 5 years old, something ridiculous like that. I actually have a degree in business management, and I was in the grocery industry for over 20 years. So I had a lot of retail grocery experience. And finally, I decided to combine my retail experience with my passion for wildlife and outdoors and nature. And I opened Jay's Bird Barn in 2003 here in Prescott at Waters Garden Center. And it's been a real blessing in my life. I feel like it's given me a platform to help unite a community on focus on wildlife issues. If you read my column, you know that I frequently write about the importance of being good stewards on a variety of topics. Some as simple as, you know, don't use herbicides and pesticides in your yard, or use native plants so we can conserve water. And so I write on a variety of topics. And I've considered running for public office in the past. And when I was approached in this past December, I thought, you know, this is probably good timing. As you're aware, there are people who've been on city council for 16 years, 20 years, and I just feel like these people need to go. They had the opportunity to chart the course of this city. I think we have a current city council that is very pro-development, and I feel oftentimes that they're in the developers' pockets, and that they have accepted campaign contributions from developers in their previous campaigns. And that is a commitment and a pledge that I have taken. I'm sure you're very familiar with Kathy Rusing, and I'm trying to follow kind of in her footsteps. I've made that pledge that I will not accept any campaign contributions from developers. I don't think that I should be beholden to any special interest groups, and I should be independent and free of that influence in my campaign. So I would like to share with you, I don't know how to do the chat thing, so maybe somebody can write it for everybody else. I want to give you my website address so that when we're done on your own time, you can go and look at my website for City Council. It's Eric Moore, so just ERICMOORE, and then the number 4, don't spell it out, just the character 4, citycouncil.com. So Eric Moore for citycouncil.com. So I would encourage you to go, and I've put a lot of material into my website, maybe more than most candidates, as far as my stance on growth, development, economic development, the AED annexation, water issues, government funding, the finance portion of government. So as you may know, there was an appointment process earlier this year in February when Billy Orr stepped down. The city opened up the process to appoint a replacement to Billy Orr's term instead of allowing the voters to decide. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to run whether I get this appointment anyways, but I'm going to go for the appointment because if I get appointed, then I don't have to go through the process of running. So I applied. There were 23 candidates, and I was one of the 5 top finalists. As a finalist, the city prepared and presented to all of the 5 finalists a list of very thought-provoking questions that they wanted us to respond to when we had our interview with the council. And so I wrote those responses verbatim, my responses. And so what I've done is I've taken all of those responses to the questions that were posed by the city, and I put those on my website. So if you want to know or understand my background or my platform, that information is available there. And then in addition, on the Sunday prior to the appointees' interviews, the Daily Courier ran a page in the Sunday Courier where previously they had asked the 5 finalists the same questions. We all got a set of questions from the Courier on different topics. And I wrote that, and that was in the newspaper. So I used that same information for my website as well. So there's a lot of content on my website as far as what my political stand is. And I feel like this is a critical election for Prescott. I feel that if we continue with our current leadership, that we're going to continue to see unsustainable growth and a destruction of habitat that we are currently seeing. If you have looked out at Dorn Homes developments by the airport and the Deepwell Ranch area, I really oppose that. I think that is unsustainable. It's a horrible stewardship. They're blading 100% of the environment. They're removing 100% of the native vegetation, all the plants, everything that was there. And they're putting like 6 houses per acre. I mean, the neighbors are like 8 feet apart, the houses, and it's just a sea of roofs. It's really an unsustainable type of development, and it's going to increase our demand for water, our traffic congestion. And, I said right on TV, on live TV, when I was being interviewed, I said to the mayor and council, if the type of development that is currently occurring out by the airport were to occur in other parts of town where we historically developed in a very wise way, there would be such a huge public outcry, and yet there isn't about the Deepwell Ranch, and there should be. So I gave as an example, like you look at Hazley or Hidden Valley or Timber Ridge or Forest Trails. A lot of these developments were done very ecologically friendly and environmentally friendly. Can you imagine if we went into Timber Ridge and we bladed 100% of all of the native habitat there and built houses? What kind of outcry would there have been? And yet, why isn't there that same outcry with the kind of development that's currently occurring out by the airport? And so that's kind of, a personal belief, a strong belief that we need to be better stewards of our environment, and that we need to have just as much passion and concern about a grassland as we do about a forest, because grasslands are very important ecosystems too, and as well as the antelope and the animals that live there. I've lived in Prescott 30 years. I can remember when I moved here from Tucson, which is where I grew up, that I would go kayaking or canoeing on a Watson Lake, and I could look over to the hillside where those, but I can't think of the name of the development now, up on the hill. It's not Victorian Estates. Is it? Can you remember the name of the development up on top of the hill by Prescott Lakes Parkway?
Rose? Cliff Rose or Prescott
Just
Lakes?
further north, where Prescott Lakes Parkway goes up the hill. And then there's that-
Yavapai Hills?
Isn't
Yavapai
that
Prescott Lakes?
Isn't it
Prescott-
Prescott Lakes?
it's-
Yeah.
it's the Prescott Lakes area. But I can remember on that hillside, I could be kayaking or canoeing in Watson Lake and look over and see antelope on that hill.
Yeah. Oh,
And now, of course, they're gone.
he
and
means
it-
the one that's new. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I just think that we need to slow things down, and we need to have sustainable growth. We need to be concerned about the Verde River and maintaining its flow. And we shouldn't be selling water outside our city limits. And if somebody wants water, then they need to come to the table and we need to talk annexation. Not that I want to annex a lot more land, but that should be part of the piece. And we need to do what's best for the city and not what's best for the developer. I don't think our current city council negotiates hard enough and they don't get what's best for the city. And I think our developers come out of this far too enriched through this process, and the city isn't getting what they need in return. So those are just some of my basic philosophies and my feelings. I know we need to do questions because it's already past my time, past my question time. So I probably should open it up for questions.
Okay, 1 second.
Yep.
Will you
Yes.
be able to separate business profit and financial gain from the needs of the people or property first?
Great question. I'm going to share a personal story. When I was contemplating running for public office, I sought advice from people that I trust and know in the community. And I went to somebody who had previously served on the House of Representatives for the state of Arizona. And I met with these people and I shared with them that I was considering running for office. And the man, without pausing, said, he looked at me and he said, "It will hurt your business." And to me, that was kind of an interesting reply. Instead of saying, "Gee, I think that's wonderful," or "I'm really impressed," or "Gee, I'd really like to encourage you," or "I'm proud of you for, thinking about maybe making this step," the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "It will hurt your business." And that's kind of discouraging comment, when you're trying to do something good, become a public servant. So I think in answer to that question, I'm willing to put in the time, the effort, and learn and serve as a public servant. And certainly, I'm not motivated by money. If anybody knows me, I am not motivated by money. In fact, when you think about what a city council member makes, it's $500 a month. Why would anybody do that? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to
Yeah.
ask another question.
Sure.
How are you going to address racism within the local government and community?
Well, unfortunately, racism is an individual matter. I think you understand that. I feel like I grew up in an environment where in my home, my parents and with my siblings, racism didn't exist. And unfortunately, that's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people grow up in a home where that is taught, where that is modeled. And unfortunately, how do you undo that in the home? And so as a community leader, I think we need to be models of not being racist, obviously. So ask the question again, just so I can try to put my arms around that.
Okay. How are you going to address racism within the local government and community?
Yeah. I think it starts with the mayor and city council. I think it starts with the town manager. I think it starts with department heads. And I think there needs to be open and candid discussions about it, especially with first responders, law enforcement, that there is no tolerance for racism. All people have the right to be respected. And I think if you look at my website, I specifically talk about this, where one of the questions we were asked by the city for our appointment process is, who are the people? And I thought it was interesting that they would even ask that question, because there are 2 city council members that do a show on KYCA radio, and they're called Steve and Steve. I'm using names, I'm sorry. But one day on KYCA radio, they were bantering about, who are the people? It's like as if they didn't know. Who are the people? And their response was, well, is it the vocal minority or the silent majority? And I just feel like they're so out of touch with who the people are. To me, the people is everyone. It doesn't matter if you're Black, white, Christian, atheist, if you're homosexual, if you have what tendency, what religion, none of that matters. Everybody, they're the people, everybody.
Okay, here's another question.
Sure.
Prescott is heavily reliant on service and tourist industry, yet it is becoming unaffordable for many of those workers to make a living here. How would you address the needs of those people?
The dichotomy. Land prices are very expensive in Prescott. And if you're trying to create affordable housing, you need housing that, number one, the land needs to be affordable. And because we are a landlocked community, basically, due to the national forest, and historically, the housing that was built historically was very large. I mean, a lot of you will agree with this. You know, you look at homes in City Lights or in Hazley or Hidden Valley, and these are 3,000 and 4,000 square foot homes and 2 people live in them, which makes no sense at all. And now we've swung exactly the opposite direction, and we're building all these cookie cutter houses out by, you know, Deepwell Ranch that are very, very small, but they're still not affordable. And I think as a city, we've created a situation that we may not be able to correct just because our land costs are too high. And I mean, we're having more apartments built in Prescott, but that's not the long-term solution. People don't want to live in apartments in the long term. They want to live in a house. They want financial freedom and the opportunity to own property. And I've lived in other parts of the country where, and I've had businesses like in Arizona, for example. I had a store in Sedona for 9 years. The majority of the people that live in Sedona are wealthy. They don't work. The working class came from Cottonwood. And every day it was like a freeway. All the workers were coming from Cottonwood into Sedona to support that service industry and going back to Cottonwood that night, because there's no affordable housing in Sedona. And I fear that that has happened to Prescott too. And I'm not trying to be a naysayer or a downer, but I'm just stating a reality that we have very limited access to open land in Prescott without continuing our urban sprawl into the grassland. I don't know if that answers the question, but those are my thoughts on that topic.
Here's another question.
Sure.
Is it too late to save the Dells?
So I've been told as a candidate that the decision on the Dells will be made before the election. That's the honest answer. So even if I get elected as a city council member, the decision about the Dells will have already been finalized with AED. So I really don't feel like I have any ability to have an impact on that decision, unfortunately. We're too far down that path.
And then I think this is the final question. How can we help you?
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm kind of using Jay's Bird Barn as my campaign headquarters. It's convenient. I'm here every day, all day. We're open Monday through Saturday. We're closed on Sundays. I have donation forms available. I have buttons like the one this one that I'm wearing. That was my name badge. I have stickers for car windows. I'll have rack cards, business cards. I'm going to be doing some meet and greets. Certainly, unfortunate part of a campaign is the need for finances, because it's about advertising. Advertising is not inexpensive. I plan to do a billboard. I plan to do radio ads on KYCA probably, but definitely on comm radio, because I'm currently an advertiser on comm radio. But it's a matter of getting my name and my word out there and my platform. And so to pay for that advertising, I'm going to need some financial contributions if people are willing to make a contribution. No dark money, just a joke there. But yeah, I think, talk to your friends and neighbors. I don't think I need door knockers so much. I do feel I'm very fortunate in the sense that I've owned a business, that I have good visibility. A lot of people know who I am. I have a good reputation in the community because I've been a business owner for so long, and I've written this column for so long. I've done a lot with nonprofits in the community for many, many years and continue to do that. We're very community oriented and involved in our community.
Eric, thank you so much.
Thank
For
you.
those of you who want to help, I put again Eric's website in chat.
Thank
And
you.
I also put in the information for Brandon Montoya, who spoke
Great.
with us last month.
Yeah, I'm
And-
definitely supporting Brandon and he's supporting me. We're not running as a slate, but we are like-minded. We're certainly very like-minded.
So if we want change, these are the two guys that are going to get it.
Right.
for us. So, you
Right.
know, step up, everybody.
Thank you. Do
Very-
you mind if I say goodbye?
No.
I'm going to go home and have dinner.
Thank
Like you said earlier, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, time to go home. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, two excellent speakers. And now team reports. So I know I'm on the edge of my chair because Jane is coming up with the treasurer's report. Jane?
Mute.
You're muted.
Well, Jane is muted.
Sorry, I was cracking up some really hilarious stuff too. I am not screen sharing apparently, so that's fine. I can just talk to you about the treasurer's report. We have been, hanging on to our money and doing real well. We've made a couple of changes to the website that does affect the funding, and I just wanted to mention those two things. One of them is last year we started to kind of act as a conduit for CCJ Meals for the Homeless. The need was very, very intense at that time. Not that it isn't anyway, but I mean, this was a particularly bad time. And for CCJ, the Coalition for Compassion and Justice. And correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, because I messed that up. But they provide meals for the homeless. They're good people. But we have decided that we should no longer be a conduit, that people are welcome and, to go straight to their site and make a donation there. And we are very happy either way. We just, the more funds we get, the more programs we are trying to engage, or in which we're trying to engage, it can get more and more confusing. The other program that's being affected is the Voter Values Project. It is not at all gone. It's just in hiatus. We wanted to go ahead and I'll tell you right now that we have in the Voter Values Project, as if I didn't print that part, let's see, VVP, $840.26.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're just gonna hold on to that because the nearer we get to the election, then we expect that project will ramp up again. But you will no longer see it as a choice on our website. It doesn't mean that you don't have the choice. Of course not. You can make a general donation to Prescott Indivisible and just email me at treasurer@prescottindivisible.org and ask me to, set it aside for VVP. But we would, we've got our other programs that we are hoping can we're going to continue those, of course. Racial justice, for one thing, is always a very sore need here in Prescott. And I kind of view them as very, sort of similar. Obviously, they're not at all alike, but certainly racial justice and immigration reflect on each other. And so those two funds are alive and well. I believe Maria Elena is going to mention a little bit about the immigration fund. So I will hold off and let you do that, Maria Elena. And racial justice is doing very well. They'll have their report too, but they did get, thanks to you, they were able to, they've been able to do a lot, and they've been teaching, doing a lot of education in the area of racial justice under the tutelage of Rosemary Dixon and Jacqueline DeSa. And I think I usually go over what's in the account. So this is as of the last of April. Checking, we have $8,045. And people make fun of me when I say the cents, so I'm not going to worry about that. And the TrueLink card, which is where the Act Blue donations go, at the end of April, we had $1,703. And in PayPal, there was only $9.41. Because in PayPal, I can make the transfer to our checking account anytime. So I try not to let too much money build up in there. So again, if you have any questions about this, please do email me at treasurer@prescottindivisible.org. Like all of us on the SC, I am 100% volunteer, but I do try to make sure I check that email every day. So unless I've missed something, okay. We are safeguarding your money. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. I think, what we do in the interest of time, we're going to go to Jeff in communications, and then you can just hand it off to one another. So take it, Jeff, for 10 minutes and then hand it to Riley.
Okay, thank you. Really good to see everybody tonight. Thanks for being here. I definitely don't have 10 minutes. I'm going to be rather brief tonight. The communications team report is pretty short. We don't have a whole lot of new stuff going on. Things are just going as they're going. We did make some updates to the website over the past few months on the Remove Paul Gosar page. So go check that out if you want to be updated on what's going on with that. Let's see, over the past 28 days, I am happy to report that we have a new 28-day rolling record on Twitter of 1.3 million impressions over the past 28 days.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool, I mean, we've been rocking that out, and we just went over 17,000 followers, and of course it's not all done in a vacuum. We get support from that, but we are becoming a lot of that 1.3 million, frankly, is because of the 60 Minutes interview with the Oath Keepers. That started trending on that Sunday, and I made a couple of tweets with our threads that happened on September 4th, alluding to like this. This is what these guys in 60 Minutes whitewashed, that interview, but this is who these people are too. Practically a precursor to the insurrection. And so that got some really serious traction. Again, a lot of people saw that, and so that was kind of neat. Another thing that I wanted to invite you who are on Twitter to do is recently I was put into a Demcast DM room specifically around the For the People Act and promoting the For the People Act, hashtag For the People Act. So if you are inspired to do a quote tweet or do an original tweet talking about advocating for the For the People Act, put together something witty and sharp, drop it to me, send it to me in the PI DM room, or send me a direct DM, and I will drop it in this Demcast room. This Demcast room has some really heavy hitters, some folks who are like celebrities and people who have gigantic followings on Twitter. And it's a very active room, meaning that people check it. Like some of these heavy hitting people actually check this room and retweet the tweets that are put in this room. And so if you do that and I drop it in there and it gets retweeted by any of these people, you'll know it. And so that's kind of fun. And I would love to be able to kind of expand, the tweets that I'm putting in that room to include you, to include members of Prescott Indivisible. Of course, I can't give you a guarantee of anything that's going to happen, but it's kind of fun to throw it in there and see what's possible, what might happen. So, so that's an invitation to do that. Let's see. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for me. I know that I'm supposed to cover Area P this week too, but Rosemary said that I could take a pass on that this month. So I'm going to just defer the rest of my time to Riley, because I know Riley's got a bunch of stuff coming up in the next month. So take it away, Riley.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everybody. Glad to be here tonight. I am representing the Young People Committee. This coming Saturday, we're having a meeting in relation to our LGBTQ Pride Education Week. That'll run from June 1st to June 5th. And we are planning on, trying to just educate the people of Prescott. We're going to be doing a panel at Prescott Library on Saturday the 5th. It'll be about 10 different topics. We're going to hopefully have some wonderful volunteers from the community who would love to educate or spread their knowledge. So if anybody here is interested, I'll be dropping my email in the chat if you're interested in helping out with that in any way. You can also attend our Saturday meeting. And on top of that, and we'll talk about this a little more at the end of the meeting, I will be kind of doing a young people LGBT takeover of the general meeting for June, because June is Pride Month, and Pride Month isn't a huge thing in Prescott, and working with people from GYCC and people in the community, it's a really good opportunity to start getting that ball rolling and talking about these things more in Prescott, because those people are here and their voices deserve to be heard. And I'm trying to, I think that's actually all I have to present tonight for Pride. Again, I'll put my email and my the Instagram. If anybody is Instagram savvy and wants to join Instagram, I'm always there too. I'll put that stuff in the chat, and I'm gonna pass it over to Nikki, who's gonna talk about education. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so education, here's the loaded chaos down at the legislature. So we are about 20 days over our legislative deadline, which it turns out that legislatures are like yogurt. They spoil really quickly. They should all go home. The last week or so, we've seen very little movement on bills from the House, particularly because it sounds like they don't have the votes to pass a lot of this crazy legislation, which is a good sign and a bad sign. We do have about 5 bills left on the table that are pretty dangerous for K-12 schools in Arizona. And we are looking at a budget that we anticipate might actually roll in all of these bills that we've been fighting all session, which would mean that they would pass as one omnibus budget bill. So we are applying pressure still. We're not letting up at all. The majority party down there is not sharing information with the Democrats at this point. So they don't really know what they're getting until they walk in the morning. Which is what we saw. I don't know if you guys follow Reginald Boulding. I definitely would. If you're not, he's really kind of giving live updates on some of the stuff that's going on there. The Democrats are hearing about bills around 8:30 in the morning for session that begins at 9. And so a lot of these things, they're not even able to really tell us what they do. So that's kind of the legislature. We were talking a little bit in the social hour, and I just want to remind people the legislature is supposed to only last 100 days, but they do need to be able to close themselves down via a sine die, and that requires a vote that it sounds like the Republicans don't have. They have 3 members holding out who are saying that they will not close until the audit is done, which we just learned they're only 10% through those 2 million ballots. So we may be here for a long time. If it continues, it's going to get pretty nasty down there. I don't think that they're going to get better with age. So we are going to keep monitoring that. If you're following Save Our Schools, we do Sunday updates. Those always have a call to action. Maria is always linking us in the newsletters. So I know it's hard to keep asking you guys to contact our legislatures, but keep trying. I know it seems futile, but we do need to at least try to launch a response to a lot of this stuff. One last thing on Prop 208, we are awaiting a Supreme Court ruling. The line of questioning during the Supreme Court case was not, it didn't give me the warm fuzzies. I did not feel good about it when we left. And so as soon as that comes down, if it does not rule in our favor, we do plan on launching a massive response to that. So we're also on Supreme Court watch. And that is my update. It is not super pleasant. I'm sorry. It is just ugly, ugly, ugly down there.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm handing it off to Jim with environmental.
Yeah,
Well, thank you very much.
all right.
Yeah, there's some ugly things also happening in the environmental scene at the state level. Apparently today, Arizona Corporation Commission has killed the clean energy rule that's been in the works for, I don't know, maybe years. There's plenty of more information if anyone is interested, but of course that's not a good thing. But well, at least there was the Earth Day and Earth Week was very successful in Prescott. Lots of great participation on Earth Day at the square. It was a really nice time. And also real good participation Earth Day on the weekend on Saturday, the 25th at Granite Creek Park. That was real nice, and lots of virtual events all came off pretty well. So there's a little bit of positive news there. And there's a coming up, NASCA is going to be presenting Brian Peterson, who gave a really great lecture, maybe a year and a half ago, something like that, here in town. And it's going to be on Zoom on Wednesday, May the 12th at 6 p.m. That'll be in the newsletter, but really interesting take on climate change. He's a scientist from NAU and has had a really great presentation last time he spoke. And I'd really encourage people to try to make that. That's Wednesday at on May 12th. The link will be in the newsletter to be able to get to that. And I think that's it. All that I have. I'm not sure who I need to hand this off to. Let's see. I guess immigration, Maria Elena would be the next one. Thank you.
Good afternoon or good evening. Real quick, a couple of things. We are going to try to have our first in-person meeting at the park, at Granite Park towards the end of May. I'm still looking at dates. If anybody in this group, or if you know of anybody that has a space or a shed anywhere where we could start stockpiling, quote unquote, donations that we are collecting for different entities down in the border, please let me know. Write to latinoindivisible@gmail.com. What we're hoping to do, there are a number of people that go at different times to different sections and have contacts, and we have lists in terms of the donations, and those show up regularly in the email. I'll make sure in the newsletter, and I'll make sure that gets done. So please let me know if you have, a spot for that. I actually have and I think that's it. And if anybody had for now, that's all. I mean, the situation in the border is not clearly defined in terms of what we see in the media. I think that there are other ways to find out exactly what's going on. It's still not good, but it's not, definitely not what we saw, 2 or 3 years ago. But anyway, Barbara, if you want to add anything in terms of, the environmental aspects of what's going on, as we talked during the, chat hour, just, pipe in. But before I give up, I have a couple of questions, and I was wondering, Nikki, are you still on?
I'm here, friend.
Yeah, I just wanted, the Supreme Court that you were talking about is the Arizona Supreme Court?
It is, yeah. Prop 208 was referred up the courts, and this
Right.
is the final issue they're looking at right now that will either decide if they move forward on collecting taxes and doing disbursements, or if they throw the entire thing out again for the third time.
what I thought I read. Okay. And then for Jim, I actually had a question also, which is, could you, in a few words, tell us exactly what that decision, that vote really means for Arizona in terms of, the environment and energy production, or if that's what it was that it affects?
Well, I think that the little bit that I saw in it earlier today was that it was mostly about the power plants not needing to meet the most stringent regulations and all that kind of thing. It's kind of a win for the fossil fuel industries and APS, of course, which is kind of odd because APS was kind of promoting renewable energy. They had kind of done a U-turn. So it's a little bit of it might be more like stalling this off and trying to buying them some more time. But there's, that's the kind of the long and short of it.
Okay, and thank you, Jim. And I just see, of course, I didn't answer the question, and Jane had actually set me up for this. It's an interesting thing, everybody's been great about contributing to DACA, and we have the funds. And ever since particularly the election, I was seeing kind of like, where are the people that need to renew? Because, I know because we've helped them in the past that they need to renew. Plus, I mean, now the ones that were never registered can actually apply. And I had a good chat with one of the candidates the other day, and she told me that she knows a lot of people who need to do it, but they're holding off thinking that they don't have to. And it goes along with the same misinformation in terms of what has brought people to the border. In Latino communities and like in a lot of communities, the rumor mill is just horrid. And so I asked her, please spread the word, because if things change in terms of a pathway to citizenship within the administration, with the new administration, it's the first and people that are going to be able to take advantage of that are people who are registered, who are covered by DACA now. It's not going to be, a free for all, open for anybody. And so it was an eye-opening thing for me, because I'd been wondering. But anyway, so I did interview somebody recently, and then there's somebody else who's working on their paperwork, so it's kind of picking back up, but it was really weird. And I hope somehow I'm supposed to have a conversation with a woman who runs the Alianza paper, the local Spanish language thing. And I am going to see if she can actually write an article about that. And we'll see how that goes.
So Maria, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of an optimism that they have with this new administration. It's a false sense of, it's going to be okay, it'll be taken care of. And
yep.
But you got to do the paperwork.
Yeah.
And thank you for asking me about the environmental concerns. And if most of you have probably seen that the money has been shifted out of building the wall, it's being shifted back to where it came from. And again, like I said earlier, the devastation is immense. And there are little sections of wall standing up in the middle of nowhere, crazy. So, and a lot of them, there are a lot of groups working, Sierra Club, obviously, and Center for Biological Diversity, and I can't even name them all. But as we did with Great Old Broads for Wilderness, we were mapping certain areas and noting the damage. And then there's going to be questioning going into how can we mitigate this? How can we repair some of it? How can we take down walls that are in migration areas? I mean, it's not, the hundreds of miles are not going to all come down, but there will be purposeful remediation, hopefully, as the future goes on. We need another 8 years, people, at least. So,
yeah. And somebody wrote that Paul Gosard is pretending to be an environmentalist, because I mean, I think we all got his, saying that he'd been picking up trash at the border. Right. But the other thing that there are not a lot of people, but every time my mantra is, and the environment and immigration are really very closely tied, because it's not only what's happening up at the border, but the reason why people are coming to the border. And, so
it's all social justice, and it's all, it's about animals, people, everything. It's all one. Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm passing it now on to Maria to talk about redistricting.
Oh, we're going to share that.
I know, I'm going to let you do it. But Diane can pinch hint.
Yeah, you should know that Maria Elena, Diane Mcqueen, and myself, and quite a few others that are present tonight, we attend the oh my God, it's so bad tonight. Where it's supposed to be the Independent Redistricting Commission. And we're finding out it's really not so independent, which is why we're there. We have to continue to push back against the Republican interests. And this past week, let me just, a little history. They, let's see, a month ago, the two Republican commissioners and the independent commissioner hired an executive director who has literally no experience. He was on the board of, no, he was assistant to a supervisor in Maricopa County. And he is, if you just watch a meeting, you will see how totally unimpressive and unprepared he is. So now you have an executive director who is not up to the job, in our opinion. Then last week,
who's a Republican operative.
Republican operative. In fact, he was paid for McSally's rally on election eve to organize that down at the courthouse.
The one that was up here at the courthouse.
Right, at our courthouse, yeah. And he didn't report it to the commissioners, and they just gave him a bye. So there's that. And then last week, the two Republican commissioners, and it was joined again by the independent commissioner, and they selected the least fair mapping consultant possible. It's called Timmons NDC. They're known for discriminating against Latinx and Black communities. They've been faced with multiple lawsuits. And it's like, you just shake your head, and like Nikki's doing it right now. It's like, oh my God, So we have been asking people from Prescott Indivisible and the Yavapai Dems to join us. And every week, Marie Lane and I and Diane, we attend debriefings. We send people that are willing to make public comment during the meetings and also prior to the meetings on the IRC website to comment on what is coming up, give our views. And so if you would like to join us, it's in every week, it's in the Arizona Legislative Update, and it's in the Prescott Indivisible newsletter. So contact us. It doesn't take a lot of your time. We do all the work for you, but you need the time to get on the website, hit the contact us selection and put in your comments. And during the meetings also, there's a link that we give you, and all you have to do is get on there, put in your personal information and comments that we lead you to. So, and then we're working on a plan to give Prescott Indivisible information so we can give public testimony when they start giving community meetings. And we don't want to jump the gun. We want to be prepared and make sure that you all have the information that you need. So that's coming up, and we'll be giving giving you presentations in the next month, I hope. So.
And Maria, can I add, this past meeting, the dirty tricks the Republicans are already playing, there were 300 pages of comments on the mapping consultant. I don't know how many of those were Kelly Townsend and Wendy Rogers got on their Facebook pages and they gave everybody a script and said, you need to submit this comment. And you can go on the website now because they have their public comments. And it was cut and paste. They, against hiring Haystack, which was the most qualified mapping consultant, they were spewing stuff out as like, oh, this is a Bernie Sanders company. It's an Obama company. And I'm telling you, it was painful to read, but this is the kind of stuff we're starting to deal with where people like Wendy Rogers and Kelly Townsend are giving their people these scripts and they're just copying and pasting these comments. But it does have an effect when you see 87 pages of comments, these types of comments, they're getting on their website. So, I mean, it really helps to get, the meetings can sometimes be long. I mean, it was a long day, wasn't it, Maria?
Yes.
Maria Elena.
But next week's only going to be 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've done all their major hires,
Right.
But the public hearings are going to be so important because this is the kind of circus we're facing where these right-wing conspiracy elected officials are prompting their base to do what they did last week. And it's just going to get worse once the public hearings and as many people as we can to get on and make comments. If you have the time to watch them, it's just, we have to fight back hard because otherwise,
Right.
it's not going to be in our favor.
And I want you to be aware that they extended the public comment period for 3 days, and our group commented. I personally and my husband, we made about 12 comments. The week prior, we made the same comments. When those 300 pages came back, our comments were not included. So I put in a public information request to ask for the additional comments. It's crazy. And I asked them to get it back to me today and I haven't heard. But I want to make sure that our comments are being submitted and are being read. So, we're like Nikki, and Diane, and all of us, we just have to keep pushing and fighting and move on. I just keep saying, I sign all of my emails with onward, but it's like, so Maria Elena, did you have something else? I'm sure you do.
Real quick, I just wanted to let people know, yes, this last one was from 9 to 4. 3/4 of the meeting was an executive session. So if you have a laptop or an iPad, basically I move around the house while I'm listening because they're on Zoom, but they broadcast it on YouTube. So you can be doing something else, but I really encourage everyone to at least listen or watch or be in one because it's just amazing. And you can, actually the best way to contribute is to do it while they're meeting, in terms of the public comments. Because, one of the things that we also need to push back is they keep on saying that they're going to be transparent, and these executive sessions are not reported anywhere, so they're not transparent. And what Maria had said too, the fact that, they say, oh, you can reach us anytime 24/7 by using the contact us part in the website, but then those don't show up in the public record. So, it's I think we need to organize ourselves to really, really, really push back individually so that it has weight. Anyway.
So I put our emails in chat. So if you want info, let us know.
And I think we have to push harder on the two Dem members.
Yes.
They haven't done enough. You know, they'll bonk a little, but I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting disappointed in them that they haven't bonked hard enough, and I think we need to start pushing them.
Yeah.
There was a question in the chat about whether the ANC or the DNC are doing anything to push back against the inaccurate census. I don't know, John, if you feel like commenting on that. It's just a real quick. Otherwise, if John's
still with us?
Yeah, he's with us.
Yeah, I'm still here. I think they're trying everything they can do to push back, but that doesn't make me any less frustrated myself. When they hired this mapping firm this week on the redistricting thing, I just about blew a gasket. I have had several conversations with Franny Sharp, and I can't tell if they're taking as an aggressive approach as they possibly could. It seems like myself, I would take a more aggressive approach than I see the ADP taking in this. And so I think it's very frustrating. I think I know that Maria Lyman feels the same way. Is that it's sort of like we're trying to partake in this as heavily as we can. I got three people on the, I've got Maria Elena Dunn and Holly Plug and Maria, all centrally in the committee, and it's just like, it just feels like one thing after another where is just not going our way. And so I'm quite frustrated, and I don't really quite know what to say, but
well,
I think it's been brought to the DNC's attention. I think Arizona is the subject of national attention right now. I mean, we look like it looks like a three-ring circus, but it's Arizona's in the news, that's for sure.
The other thing, John, and just so everybody here knows, Riley Harrington is also on the Indivisible redistricting team. He's done a great job. He started our Facebook pages. He does Twitter. He does everything. So Riley, we have to thank you for that. And Indivisible is taking a different approach than the Arizona Democratic Party. They are, I believe, extraordinarily proactive. We are so lucky. We have a woman that has a mapping company. She's mapped for NASA. She's mapped Mars. She can take the early, what is it called, Maria Elena? The early data that's in an old format, transform it, and I don't know, they're going to run some maps. We have two gentlemen that worked at UC Berkeley with GIS mapping, and we have a group that part of it is mapping, and that's their expertise. I won't even go near them because they're like, I mean, they're amazing. And so we'll see, I think Indivisible, we have an edge because that we're not looked at so far as being the quote, the enemy. We're going to, I'm hoping, do a sneak attack here. We'll see. So, but how strong we are. And over the last 4 years, what we have accomplished. And look at the ACA. I mean, everything that we've managed to help promote, and we have had our successes. And I'm hoping that Indivisible is going to help with the redistricting. So, don't give up. Don't give up. Quite yet.
Okay, we have arrived at 7:30 successfully. Looking forward to a couple of things. First of all, next meeting on June 3rd, and Riley's going to be in charge. So I'm looking
Yay,
forward to
Ryman.
that because he seems to be on top of things.
No kidding.
And secondly, I'm looking forward to meeting in person sometime. I don't know when, but I think it would be a really nice thing to do. So
Excuse
that
me.
said,
Is there a chance that I could have 2 minutes? My
2
name is-
minutes.
Yeah, okay, that's it. My name is Marshall Waller and I represent Prescott area Move to Amend monthly meeting. And we are having a meeting on Thursday, May 20th at 5:30. Our guest speaker is going to be Brandon Montoya. We got him, but we didn't get Eric. We're going to try to get him later. But Move to Amend is interested in accountability and integrity in government. Our ultimate goal is functioning representative democracy nationwide. We can't count on End Citizens United with the present day Supreme Court. So we have a different way of doing it. And right now, HJR 48 has been introduced as it is every single year. And we've got 50 co-sponsors at the moment, and we're hoping for 100 by the end of the session. And that's it. I think
Is that regarding corporate personhood, Marshall?
corporate person. Oh, yes, it is regarding that as well.
All right. 2 minutes,
2 minutes,
exactly.
yeah.
Very good. I think unless there is anything else coming up, I think we're finished. And I
Thank
think
you
we'll
very
have a
much.
very good meeting. So,
Thank you very
Great
much.
job, Doug.
Yay.
Thank you.
adiós, que les vaya bien, pero que se vayan, okay?
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay.
Good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
Bye,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.